Hello, everybody. Today is the day the men's hockey portion of the Olympics begins its preliminary round today, starting off with Slovakia versus Finland, followed by Sweden versus Italy. I'm going to go over the players the Minnesota Wild have sent to their respective national teams, as well as give my thoughts as to how I think the Olympic tournament will shake out. As you can see, the preliminary round starts today and runs through February 15th, with the remaining bracket kicking off on the 17th with the playoff round, going through the 22nd with the gold medal game. I will say I wrote this script during the course of the Slovakia game and have started recording here at the onset of the Sweden game. So just so you have an idea of where my positioning is once we get to the latter section of this video. So diving into players that the Wild have sent to various national teams, we'll start off with the first matchup with Slovakia versus Finland. The Wild did not send anyone for the Finnish national team, but they did send Iowa Wild goaltender Samuel Hlavaj to the Slovakia national team. Hlavaj has been a mainstay for Slovakia national teams going back to the 2018 World Juniors U18 tournament. And he has been lights out repeatedly in IIHF World Championships in 2023, 2024, and 2025, where he's posted a 932, 925, and 912 save percentage in each. He struggled a bit on an Iowa Wild team that has been lackluster this season, but at 24 years old and with his pedigree in international play, he's certainly a really promising part of the Wild goaltending pipeline. This past game, he played lights out against Finland. He went 38 for 39 on saves, including several point blank attempts en route to Slovakia's 4-1 upset to start the tournament. The second game today features many more Minnesota Wild players as Italy takes on Sweden. Again, the Wild did not send any players for the Italian national team, but Sweden will feature Joel Eriksson Ek and Marcus Johansson on the forward end, as well as the two-headed giant of Philip Gustafsson and Jesper Wallstedt in net. Sweden was also planning on featuring Jonas Brodin on defense. However, his recent injury has sidelined him for the Olympics. And then quickly running through the rest of the rosters, the Wild sent centerman Nico Sturm to join a very intriguing Germany. David Spacek was named to the Czech national team to represent Czechia over his fellow Iowa Wild teammate David Jiricek. And Team USA features Matt Boldy, Brock Faber, and Quinn Hughes, alongside a couple names the Wild have been circling coming up on the trade deadline. Team USA is also managed by Bill Guerin, with head coach John Hines operating as an assistant coach for the national team. AGM Chris Keller is operating as the director of player personnel. Head athletic trainer John Worley and assistant athletic trainer Travis Green will serve as athletic trainers. And orthopedic surgeon Joel Boyd is the team physician for Team USA. In terms of the tournament itself, the 12 teams are divided into 3 separate groups, starting with Group A, which features Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, and France. Group B features Sweden, Finland, Slovakia, and Italy. And Group C features the United States, Germany, Latvia, and Denmark. For rankings, the IIHF uses a 3-2-1 point system, awarding 3 points for regulation wins, 2 points for overtime wins, 1 point for overtime losses, and 0 points for regulation losses. So that differs a little bit from the NHL, but it just is to award teams that win in regulation a little bit more than drawing it to overtime. The tiebreaker within the seeding process also features IIHF World Ranking as a final step. And those rankings go as follows: the United States at 1, Switzerland at 2, Canada at 3, Sweden at 4, Czechia at 5, Finland at 6, Germany at 7, Denmark at 8, Slovakia at 9, Latvia at 10, France at 14, and Italy at 18. So these rankings are based on international play at a variety of levels, including the World Championship tournaments, which is why Switzerland lands at number 2, as they are coming off of back-to-back second places at the World Championships. For reference as well, the three group winners are seeded 1 through 3 and are automatically advanced to the quarterfinals, as well as the best second place team is seeded as 4 and automatically moves to the quarterfinals as well. So, jumping into the rankings, I do think the group winners for each group will be Canada, Sweden, and the United States, respectively. And I do think that based on the strength of each of these groups and the strength of each of these teams, I think that Sweden will end up being seeded number 1, Canada will be seeded number 2, and the United States will be seeded number 3. For my fourth place team, I did end up giving that to Slovakia. I think they will have the next best record, especially following their absolute rout of Finland. I think they will win out with a better record and have a better goal differential than the next two best teams. For reference, again, rankings 5 through 12 go off the IIHF scoring tiebreakers of higher position in the group, higher number of points, better goal difference, higher number of goals scored, and finally IIHF world ranking. So, based on my understanding of how teams are seeded after this initial group stage, I believe that entails that if a team takes, for example, third place in their group, they cannot be seeded higher than any team that is taken second. So, using that as my logic, I do have Switzerland being fifth, followed by Germany, Finland, Czechia, Latvia, Denmark, France, and finally Italy. I will say that does not mean I think that Germany is a better team than Finland or Czechia. I think if I were to do power rankings, I would put Finland and Czechia higher. But I do think Germany will take second place in their group, which I think will result in them being higher seeded than Finland and Czechia. As for the playoffs, I don't think there are going to be any absurd upsets. I do think the closest matchup is going to be Czechia and Latvia, but I believe that Czechia, featuring the likes of David Pasternak, they also have a really good goalie in Lucas Dostal. I think will push them beyond Latvia. And similarly, I think Finland will beat Denmark. I do think Germany will beat France, and I think Switzerland will beat the Italian national team. So moving on to the quarterfinals, again, there are some very interesting matchups. There are some possible upsets here. Obviously, Czechia is not a team that you should count out at any stage. Neither is Finland going up against Canada. And I think Slovakia and Switzerland will actually be one of the more fun matchups to watch in this tournament. However, I do think that Sweden will take the win over Czechia. I do think that Canada will beat Finland, and I do think the United States will beat Germany, and I do think Slovakia will beat Switzerland. So, as you might notice at this stage, the teams did shuffle a little bit. The Olympic Committee does reseed teams entering the semifinals, and this is where I think the United States flip flops with Canada. It doesn't really matter. They will end up playing each other, I think, regardless. But I think the U.S. will end up having a better goal differential coming out of their matchup with Germany than, for example, Canada will have coming out of their matchup with Finland. So I do think that will result in them flip-flopping rather. And then Sweden and Slovakia will be the other matchup in the semifinals. So Slovakia is kind of my underdog team. I think they have phenomenal goaltending. I think they have some very underrated players, especially at an international level. However, I do think that Sweden will beat them. I think Slovakia will be in the bronze medal game against one of the United States and Canada. Going into those two, I do think that the U.S. and Canada are very well matched against each other. However, I'm a very firm believer that goaltending is a huge driver in international play. And I do think the American grouping of Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman is better than Canada's grouping of Jordan Binnington, Darcy Kemper, and Logan Thompson. I also think the US team has a deeper defensive core than Canada does. So while the US doesn't have an exact match for a guy like Connor McDavid, and I do think the Canada grouping having guys like Sidney Crosby add some much needed veteran help for guys that have played the Olympics before. I do think I would give the slight edge to the US in this single elimination tournament. So I do have the US advancing beyond Canada. And I do have Canada and Slovakia ending up in the bronze medal game. And this is unfortunately where I do have Slovakia losing that bronze medal game to Canada. As much as I would like to give Slovakia a medal in my rankings here, I don't think they match up well against Canada. I don't think they. I don't think they match up overly well against any of these teams that are in the semifinals. But I think Slovakia is the team that out of all of the ones in this tournament could surprise people the most and upset a team. So while I have Canada beating Slovakia just because I think that's the most realistic outcome, Slovakia has shown in previous tournaments that they can beat much better teams like the United States. However, given that we now have all of the NHL players coming over, this is not going to be like the World Championships or the previous Olympics where teams did not have access to all of their NHL talent. I do think Canada will beat Slovakia. And then in the gold medal game, I do think Sweden will beat the United States. Again, I'm a huge advocate of goaltending being a driving factor in international play. It's why I think Slovakia will go deep in this tournament, and it's why Sweden, I think, will beat the US. I'm a huge fan, obviously, of the Wilds duo that have gone to Team Sweden in Philip Gustafsson and Jesper Wallstedt. I also think Team Sweden has one of the best, if not the best, defensive cores attending this tournament, and I think their forward group, although lacking some of the overwhelming offensive production outside of guys like William Nylander, I think this team does play the best two-way game out of any team in the tournament, which I think will lead to them having a very deep run, and as shown here, I think they will eventually win that gold medal. So that being said, I do think this is going to be a very exciting tournament to watch. I do think that any of these teams are good enough to push for a medal to some degree, and especially given that it's a single elimination tournament before the semifinals. If a team has a bad game, I mean, we just saw Slovakia upset Finland, and Italy has scored an early goal against Sweden. So really, anything is possible here in the Olympics. I do think there's a strong top three of Sweden, the US, and Canada, especially considering that all of those teams have all of their NHL available talent. I think there is then a step down to Finland, Czechia, and Slovakia. But again, I think all of those teams are capable of upsetting any of those three heavyweight favorites. I also think a team like Germany is able to go on a little bit of a run. I think obviously having a guy like Leon Draisaitl on the front end, Moritz Seider on the back end, and Philip Grubauer is having a nice resurgence in net this season for the Kraken, as well as Latvia has some very nice players on their squad. However, looking at their routes through the playoffs into the quarterfinals, I just don't think they match up very well against any of the teams they're going to end up playing, and I think they face a little bit more of a long shot to make the bronze medal game over a team like Slovakia or Switzerland. So that just about wraps up the video for today. So thank you all for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're interested in seeing more, please subscribe and let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. Obviously, I cover a lot of Minnesota Wild topics, but if you're interested in seeing anything about the league as a whole, feel free to throw that down in the comments below. So thank you so much for watching.